If you're following me on Instagram, and if you do, you're a legend, and if you don't, well, there's a little tag right here in the corner where you can have my username and follow me. You probably know that I'm into street photography, and especially with the 85mm f1.8 from Viltrox. This is one of my favorite lenses because it's super sharp. I like the focal length, I like the images it produces. It has a nice bokeh. This lens is probably the one I use the most since I bought it, in fact. I released a couple of POV videos and people have asked me if the M50 was a good street photography camera. And let's face it, it's a camera with interchangeable lenses, so you can actually do street photography with it, and especially because it's super compact and you can take it anywhere you want. So I checked online for a equivalent to the 85mm but for APS-C cameras. And Viltrox once again has a lens that is equivalent. They released recently a trio of lenses for the Canon M mount, a 23, 33 and 56mm. So I bought the lens for €290 on Amazon. It was delivered and I hit the streets. And before we talk performances, I'd like to talk about the build quality. It feels really premium. It's all made out of metal. Even the lens hood is metal. And yeah, it's silver. I don't know why. I suspect that it's to match better with the M6 Mark II, but note that they make those lenses also for Fuji and Sony, and for those brands the lenses are black. There's no mention anywhere that they are going to release these lenses for Canon in black, so you will have to stick with the silver one. It's not the most discreet when you're shooting street photography, but hey, you have to deal with it. The lens isn't weather sealed, which is kind of obvious with lenses that are $290, but it features a micro USB port on the bottom of the lens, so you can update the firmware of the lens. And honestly, Viltrox delivers quite frequently firmware updates for their lenses. They did it for the 85, I've seen that they did for the Fuji lenses, so I guess that there will be firmware updates that fixes tiny little issues here and there. The focus ring is really smooth. It's even smoother than with my 85mm. This one feels a little bit stiff. This one is super smooth, so no worries about that. It also features a aperture ring right here on the bottom, so you can either turn it on automatic, so you can tweak your aperture on your camera, or simply fix your aperture on the lens. And the aperture goes from f1.4 if you want that nice shallow depth of field, up to f60. The minimum focus distance is 60 centimeters, which isn't really far but not really close either, and it's a autofocus lens supporting IAF, and I didn't see really big issues with the IAF. It was really locking to my eye when I was moving. So if you think of shooting portraits with this one, you can rely on the eye autofocus. Okay, now that the technical stuff is out of the way, let's talk image quality. Well, let's get this straight. If you plan to shoot at f1.4, your images will be soft. Really soft. It wasn't the 3 coffees I had just before that made me shake or anything. No, it's just that the lens produces a very soft image. I came home, I downloaded my images, and on maybe 100 images, I could maybe save 1 or 2 that were almost okay. So I decided to test the lens at home, and I took my little marshmallow man on my bench and started to see where the soft spot was in terms of aperture. At f1.4, like you can see, it's really soft. If you start to step down to f2 up to f8, your images are going to be sharper, and over f8, well, the images start to be softer again. The other little disappointment is the color fringing, and I'm aware that you can fix it. You have that purple little fringing on your images. That's something that you can fix in a couple clicks in Lightroom, but it's still worth mentioning. It's also something that Viltrox had with the 85mm, but they released a firmware that kind of fixed that. So maybe they will release a update for the 56mm that will completely fix that little issue. Other than that, I like the bokeh, I like the shallow depth of field it produces and the separation it can also give you. I took the lens out at night for some test in low light, and I like the images I got even shooting wide open. So is the 56mm f1.4 a good lens? Well, if you're on a budget, you know the flaws, you know how to fix it or how to adapt your shooting style to it, it's still a nice lens. It's a nice focal length, it's small, it's compact, it's lightweight, you can take it anywhere you want, you always have a nice street photography lens with you, so yes, it's still a nice lens. But if you are looking for better quality, better sharpness, less color fringing, maybe an even more accurate autofocus, which this lens already has, but maybe it's even better, I would save up a little bit of money and buy the Sigma 56mm f1.4. I didn't test that lens, but I have experience with other Sigma lenses and I know the quality those lenses can give you. They give you sharp images, but razor sharp images, even wide open, less color fringing, a reliable autofocus. So if you can save up 200 bucks more and you can buy the Sigma 56mm. Are you considering buying the 56mm from Viltrox or the Sigma one? Do you have the Sigma one and can you give me some feedback maybe? If you do, make sure to use the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You'll be a legend. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. And until next time, like they say in my part of the world, à plus dans le bus.